Alright, hey guys, and welcome to episode 9 of Player 2 Reviews, where today I'm going to be covering a little-known gem on the Gamecube, and that is Lost Kingdoms. Let's take a look. Lost Kingdoms is a pretty obscure action RPG created by the amazing developer From Software, who are now better known for both Demon and Dark Souls, which are two of my favorite games from this generation, if not my top two. So, needless to say, I was quite excited when I booted this up again for the first time in about 8 years to discover that they were the creators. I remembered loving this game when I first tried it years earlier and was looking forward to see if it still held up today. The story for Lost Kingdoms is certainly a familiar one. In fact, you could read the back of Demon Souls and find an almost identical plot. In short, the world is slowly being engulfed by a mysterious fog, which naturally comes chock full of all sorts of monsters and destruction. So as Fog approaches the main character's kingdom, it's up to her to put a stop to it. In the game, you play as Katia, the princess of the story's kingdom. And soon after your father, the king, leaves on a mission to find out why the fog has appeared and ultimately destroy it, Katia's castle is overwhelmed, and she is forced to take up the Runestone, a relic kept within the castle which gives the wielder the ability to bring magical cards to life. With this in hand, Katia sets out in search of her father, which leads into a pretty grand tale for the time, with a few interesting characters along the way. Lost Kingdoms is a kind of unique playstyle, in the sense that your cards are what do most of the fighting for you. But instead of, say, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, or any of those other card games, Lost Kingdoms is all played out in real time, with your character running around in the battlefield. Some of these cards act as a single attack motion, such as a sword swipe or lance thrust, whereas others actually summon the monsters onto the field to walk around attacking your enemies for you. Then there are special cards, which kind of combine these two with some added bonus effects. The game is fairly fast-paced, but certain missions can seem to drag on a little too much, especially with the fact that once you use a card in a mission, you're unable to use it again until the next one. So when you run into some long dungeons, you can find yourself running out of cards and ultimately dying. It is little things like this that keep the game from reaching that level of perfection that it should have, and almost does. The other main problem is the lack of feeling any real progression in your character. You do obtain experience points after winning a battle, but you never actually level yourself, and your cards only obtain the ability to transform into another card. Having the ability to make your cards stronger or gain some personal abilities would really have made the game a little more immersive. But overall, the game is quite fun, and you will enjoy finding all the different cards throughout the game and discovering the neat effects from each. Also, you are limited to how many cards you can have in your deck, so you really need to think strategically when choosing what you will be bringing into the next mission. And discovering which cards work best for your playstyle is pretty fun all on its own. Graphically, the game is quite beautiful, especially for the Gamecube, and aside from a couple bland-looking sewer or marsh-like levels, the scenery is quite nice. But it's the cards that take center stage in the graphics department, and you can tell that this was their main focus, as they all have their own unique attacks and animations, and you will always have something to keep your eyes entertained from start to finish. The music for Lost Kingdoms isn't anything too exciting, but is fairly appropriate for the game's setting, and will certainly help immerse you in the moment, but I don't recommend going out to buy the soundtrack or anything like that. Overall, Lost Kingdoms is a pretty good gem on the Gamecube that is more or less as good as I remember it being back in the day. Looking at it today from a more critical standpoint, I do think that they could have added a few more mechanics to perfect the game. And fortunately for me, I discovered that there was actually a sequel when doing some research for my review. So I'm looking forward to giving that a try to see if a couple of the points I have make it in there. And maybe I can do a follow-up review in the future. Anyways guys, if you're into unique RPGs for a system that seems to be becoming more and more collectible as of late, then I certainly recommend giving this a shot while you can still get it at a fair price. Just want to say thanks again to everyone for watching. Once again, feel free to comment and subscribe if you like the review, and if there are any games you may like to see covered in the future, feel free to mention them below as well. Especially if you can think of any more gems on the GameCube, I'd love to hear them. So anyway, be sure to check back soon for some more gaming coverage. This has been a Cartridge Bros Player 2 review, and we'll see you next time.